An Alberta author chronicles a painful story of abuse in his book. It's called Throwaway Children, a true story of forgiveness and perseverance. Greg VanRiper spares no detail about the allegations of what happened to him in a foster home near Medicine Hat, and today he's here to share his story with us. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
So it doesn't sound like it would be a pleasant, easy read.
No,
but it's something that obviously important for you to get on paper.
Yes, it was very cathartic for me to be able to write it down and sort out what happened to me in my past. And so I wrote the book, and there were lots of things that happened to me. When I was 9 years old, my parents got divorced, and by age 12 I started getting into trouble, running with the wrong crowd. And as a result of that, I ended up being sent into foster care, where I spent approximately 3 years in institutions and foster homes. I ended up in one home in Ellis and Wilf Mayor's foster home, 5 miles south of Southridge in Medicine Hat. And I spent 2 years and experienced and witnessed horrible abuse there. And so that carried on with me well into my adult married life after I had children too. And so I experienced other crises as well. I got into 2 major motor vehicle accidents. I broke my neck in one. As a result, I couldn't work for a while, and I went through bankruptcy, and I was separated from my wife for a while, but I worked through all those experiences to have a rich and fulfilling life. And I've done things like stand-up comedy at Yuck Yucks a couple times. When I was a teenager, I boxed for 5 years, and I won the Golden Gloves and provincial championship. I went to Deer Lodge Prison in Montana, fought the inmates, and won there too. And I spent lots of time with my kids and wife. I built them a treehouse, and we, played lots of games in there, and went on trips together and did all kinds of fun things. So yeah, life's better.
So you have recovered. So you went from a truck driver, former boxer, to a writer. So what was that process like to try to become an author?
Well, I had to do lots of research in order to do the writing. It took me about 5 years to write the book, and so it was painful at some points, reliving some of that. But I had also gone through 4.5 years of counseling, which helped me to get through some of it. And so it was an interesting process writing the book, yeah.
Now, why do you think it's important for people to read this? Because like we said, it's not pleasant stories, but obviously you think they're worth sharing.
Well, we all go through crisis, and so how we deal with the crisis is instrumental in us living a productive life. Because some people will say, well, when I get a car, I will feel better and I won't be as depressed. And then they get a car and another crisis emanates, and then they are in the same position as before, depressed. And so we have to understand that it's a mindset we have to go through in order to develop better processes and become better problem solvers to live our lives in a way that's productive, regardless of what kind of crisis we're going through, as well as take responsibility for our actions, because my decisions are ultimately what create my reality. I cannot blame my life on somebody else. Because of my beliefs and my decisions and thoughts, they create my reality, and medical science even confirms this. And also we need to learn to forgive other people, because the forgiveness is not saying to the perpetrator they are exonerated from what they've done, but it emancipates me from reliving that trauma and horror over and over again, so that I can be free to live a productive life. And also, sometimes it gives us a second chance to develop a relationship with other people, such as was the case with my mother. And people said, even counselors said to me, you should just write her off. And I wanted to make my own objective decision about that. And so I made a decision to forgive my mom, just like she forgave me because of the offenses I had committed against her. And we have a wonderful relationship now.
So lots of lessons for anyone, really.
Very, very full of life lessons, yes.
So the book is available on the website, gregvanriper.com. There is also, if you don't want to get it online, there's also a phone number you can call. So that's on the website as well. You can find a link to that from our website and then click on news links. So thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We're back right after the break.
The forgiveness does not say to that person, I'm letting you off the hook. The forgiveness is for me saying that I am emotionally released from the trauma and reliving that horrible experience from the people, from the perpetrators over and over.
Emotional words from Alberta's Greg VanRiper, who wrote and released Throwaway Children in 2009. At first glance, it seems like a connect-the-dots story of a child dealing with his parents' divorce by acting out and getting involved in drugs and petty crime. But this story quickly slips into full-on insanity after getting kicked out of various foster homes and institutions. Greg wound up on a secluded ranch for troubled kids where he spent 2 long years being subjected to physical abuse and humiliation on a daily basis. 2 decades later, VanRiper has finally put it behind him.
We can't change our situation sometimes, but we can change our attitude and have a better outlook on how things are going to turn out as we go through the crisis that we're going through.
Unfortunately, the rough times didn't end after escaping from the quote hell ranch. VanRiper would go on to survive a devastating car accident and suffer through bankruptcy. 2 more things he's proud to have worked past.
First of all, we have to have a good attitude and believe that we are going to come through these things and not have the attitude that things are never going to get better, or have the attitude that, oh, it couldn't get any worse, because it could always get worse, believe me. In many respects, it galvanized me to be a better parent and to have lots of involvement with my children and my wife and be very interactive in their lives.
Currently, VanRiper is a truck driver, and his incredible sense of humor has even caused him to dabble in stand-up comedy. Throwaway Children is available at bookstores and through Guardian Books. For Shaw A&E, I'm Curtis Anderson.